All right. Welcome to the show. I know I
Hi,
missed the
everybody.
music. Hi, everyone. Oh, we got Melissa. She did find her way in. Excellent.
Yay!
That's it.
So the
Now you
music,
let the riffraff in.
the music will be back. I just so cleverly accidentally deleted the other intro and made a new one this afternoon. So Dara is obviously not here with us tonight, but welcome to the Whole Pet Grooming Academy's Groomers Cut. But tonight we have Michelle Knowles, we have Katie Heckela, and we have Melissa Conti-Diener. And our topic tonight, if we stick to it, which, you know, we might or might not. And I'm Chrissy Neuer-Smith. Our topic tonight is winter coat prep. There are a lot of things that happen at winter time, and we should dive into that because we're starting to get there, aren't we? I don't know.
Yes.
Well,
We just
Arizona
stay
has
right
something.
where I'm at. So it's like hot winter or cold winter. So
Oh, really? Well, I mean, the temperature changes for you guys, but does anything else really change for you for wintertime?
It's just dry. It's
It's
so
just
dry.
Yeah,
Dry. Yeah.
It just stays dry.
Really?
Yeah. We get
It's
a
a
we
dry
get a
heat.
little
It's a
bit of
dry cold.
It's dry heat.
we get a little bit of rain like when it snows up north. And
Yeah.
then we'll get some rain here and it'll get overcast, but it primarily, I mean, I'm freezing now and we're in the 60s today. I literally have a sweatshirt on that says I'm literally freezing.
Yeah, 60,
So-
sometimes even 65 degrees here is total jacket weather. You bring out the blankets because we're so acclimated to those higher temperatures. It's harder to
Yeah.
go east. Even in the summer, you're like, oh, I'm in a jacket. And they're like, it's 85. We're like, I know, like 40 degrees lower than we're used to.
Well, that's what we feel like here in New England in August. When, like, once in a while you just have that first cold day and you're like, 60? Oh my God, I need socks.
Yeah.
You know? What are we going to do?
Are you kidding me? We never put on socks. That's ridiculous.
You'd be warmer if
I
you
have
wore
to say-
socks.
It is different because it's desert.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so it is different, but I think
And the colder air can hold
do it
less moisture. The colder it is,
Yeah.
the warmer, the more moisture it can hold. So
Yeah.
it really depends on the temperature as well. And we just don't get enough rain to be that humid.
Okay.
Yeah.
It just stays.
So it's pretty
And it
much the
gets
same
more
for you guys
static
year round then,
too.
huh?
all that static from it gets worse. The colder it gets, the more staticky,
Yeah.
more static
Yeah.
electricity we deal with. Yeah.
So what
Yeah.
do you guys
Kristen
do
said
to
we missed
combat the
fall.
static?
39 degrees here in Denton, Texas. I am
Oh.
so sorry, Trisha.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Brr.
Yeah, we've kind of missed fall here in New England. It's still
Yeah.
unseasonably warm. And I'm waiting for that to smash us in the faces. It's gonna come back and hit us hard, I'm sure. So what do you guys
we're
do about
supposed to get
static?
snow tomorrow?
Are we?
Yeah.
Oh. Whoops.
See, there you go.
Thanks.
It's coming.
Yeah.
No fall, straight to winter.
We live in the same place.
So
Yeah.
do we.
Yeah, you know, right? Oh
That's
no.
pretty funny.
It is. But what do you guys do about static? Like, I know, especially like here in the Northeast, when the heaters are on, often that's a big problem for our little dogs. They're jumping up on things and getting little static shocks. And what do you recommend for keeping static down?
I use an inordinate amount of oil every day on everything that is alive in
Yeah.
one state. Everything, yes, everything needs. And the last person that gets oil is me. So I've got the crusty alligator elbow from holding my dog on the table. That's my base to stabilize
Yeah.
them. And I come home and Don hugs me and then he touches the elbow and goes. Like he's running
Aw.
in. So this elbow gets some oil unless he puts it on there. But
So what
yeah,
do you?
I use a lot of conditioner and oil additives in the conditioner, and I also topically polish with straight pure oil on the dogs. I think that helps a lot. Melissa,
What do you like to
for
use?
cats?
I didn't hear you, Michelle. What did you say?
What
Last?
do you do for cats for static?
Same thing. I use oil usually. I don't oil directly. I don't put the oil directly on them. As the oily groomer, what else would I do? This is why Michelle and I have a love affair, because because to us the oil is life. It equals life, and we live in the desert, so there is such a lack of moisture. So for the cats, I usually will make a conditioning spray, and instead of spraying the actual animal, I spray around. I like mist the air with one of the 360 bottles, but it'll be a conditioner base. You can order those bases, off of a lot of the different sites out there. Cosmetic, what do they call those? The formulation sites, where you can buy all the components,
raw materials,
formulating.
Okay.
And then I add my appropriate oil, whatever it is that I'm going to be, whatever type of coat that I'm going to be working with. And I do the same for the dogs. And then a lot of times I will use oil directly on my hands, work it through the dog coat too, and then use a Boris bristle brush to polish.
Yep. Now, what oil base do you guys like to use? Is that jojoba? Is that what do you guys use?
It depends. For me, it depends on the coat that I'm working on.
Yeah.
What about you, Michelle?
Well, I go by, if it's a really light coat, I use a really light oil like camellia or primrose or something of that nature. If it's a woollier or thicker or coarse or rustic coat, you can use a thicker oil. And most of the time, the smooth coats, you can oil them up straight up with just about anything, and they'll just absorb it in like 5 minutes. But I like emu oil is my number one go-to. If I have that on hand, I'll use that for everybody. It's an animal oil that I think the skin just recognizes more easily. But plant oils are good too, but I really do like emu oil.
Okay.
You could go to the store and get
emu.
avocado oil. You could get olive oil. You could get argan oil as long as it's pure and not a human-made hair formulation. There's a lot of just straight, beautiful oils you can use that are nourishing.
Take a look at something called the Cosmogenic Scale, and it's accessible on Google. One of my favorites to use is I love to use castor oil. It is very low on the Cosmogenic Scale, which means it absorbs very easily. It's a lighter, quicker absorbing oil. Whereas I love coconut oil, but coconut oil is so high on the Cosmogenic Scale because it's so dense. And that takes forever to absorb. So when you work with oils, and to me those are base oils or carrier oils. We're not talking about essential oils, but know your Cosmogenic Scale. Also look at toxicity things as well, because as we know, animals will lick themselves. So you don't want to be putting it on there. Yeah, that's going to cause them, intestinal distress or unintentional poisoning or anything like that. So it's important to know, just like it's important to know your ingredients and the products that you purchase that are pre-made. It's also very important that you understand the natural products, the things that are coming to you as bases or as, a pure castor oil or whatever, coconut oil. Understand what you're getting, and if it's applicable to be used on safely on an animal.
Sure.
Or yourself for that matter, because anything we use, we get. It gets used on us.
Yeah. And we all know that plenty of natural things are not good for you. Poison ivy, arsenic. Like there are lots of things that are natural that aren't good.
Just because it says natural doesn't mean that it's
organic arsenic.
Yeah.
So along with that, up here in the Northeast, we have a wider variety of temperature changes.
Yes.
Do you find that dogs need more conditioner in general in the winter?
It depends on the coat, I feel like. like a drop coat, like with more conditioner this time of year. But a lot of the harsher coats, it's about the same as I would normally do. I end up doing a lot more their like the elbows in the winter. I do for each bath anyway, just because I want to see that skin and I want to see something like that, and that's kind of where I go from. But I do find in the winter those drop coats need more static. The static is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
they
agree
get
with that. Yeah.
The pads and
Well,
I'm a
and the
coil
pads
maniac.
of the feet in the northern climates when
yeah.
they're walking in road salt. Got to be so
Yes.
careful with the road
exactly.
salt. And a lot of our owners don't know that. I
Yeah.
think it's really important for us to talk to them about that. Like after you go for a walk, rinse those feet off,
Clean the feet. Yeah.
wipe them
I
off.
can't even understand why in your area you just don't sell all kinds of dog boots in the winter and then hold classes to help owners train those dogs to wear boots, because it's so bad. Not only does it crack their feet open and make them all yucky and infected, but they're absorbing those toxins into their body as well. You know,
Yep.
and it's at a time
Yep.
when there's no sunshine, so they can't soak the sun in and get disinfected and make vitamin D, and it's a thing.
It is. It is. And I think a lot of owners are reluctant to try the boots, but honestly, I find a lot of dogs really like them. I did have one customer that they had trouble getting boots on him, and he didn't like walking in slush. And I'm like, so bring the boots with you. And when he's done with his walk, because he's like, oh, my paws and it's so slushy, put the boots on. And suddenly he's like, these are marvelous. Nobody told me about these before. He's like mid-walk, and he's like, doo, doo, doo. Never had another problem with getting boots on. I'm like, we're going out in the snow. Like, put my shoes on, because it is uncomfortable. And, why not make it better for them? And if we can prevent the need for like wiping off all the salt, just put the boots on.
Right.
My guys very rarely get road walks when it's that time of year. We have a nice big yard to play in. But if we go to a fly ball tournament or something, I have to worry about whatever we're walking through in parking lots.
Yeah,
It's
see,
pretty ugly.
we don't have to deal with any of that, but we do have to deal with the fact that even though we are cold for our temperature, we have the opposite with our summers, which is extreme heat. So our sidewalks and blacktop are triple digits.
Right.
And so
even when they're not, they're so full of colitas and oil and petroleum products that they ooze, and especially in the new subdivisions where everybody has those beautiful mansion-like houses and it's all beautiful and the roads are all perfect and new. Their dogs come back black. And
we see all those black feet to the elbow.
It's really bad. Yeah, it's dirty. The streets are
because
dirty. They're dirty.
Yeah. Well, once asphalt starts to warm up, I mean, unless it's old, like my road, unless it's really old, it's going to continue to ooze and become mushy. And I had a customer who didn't think twice about walking her dogs on her newly paved road, and one of them has had a significant amount of problems with her feet because of it. It just unfortunately, there's only so much she would let a groomer do because her vet has other opinions, but I trace it all back to that was when your road got paved. We need to be thinking about the things that dogs are walking on.
I have another little tip that since I was lucky enough to come in and spend some of the beginning of winter up until the end of November with you guys in New Hampshire. I realized
we appreciate the effort.
I know.
Wicked good effort there. Yeah.
I'm close. I'm originally from Philadelphia, New Jersey too, a little of that. So I could squeeze a little bit of that in.
You're from the South.
Yeah, exactly. I'm south from you guys. That's for damn sure.
If you consider Pennsylvania the South, you may be from New England.
Yes. But I noticed that those poor pets are their ears. I started oiling up their ear tips and their ears. Their ears, especially being the school being in Portsmouth, which is right, it's such a beautiful town, and you're in such close proximity to the water. You have a lot of that sea mist that covers everything.
Salted.
And so many people walk, and they walk on the beaches as well. So when you have prick-eared dogs, you've got the tips of those ears just getting so cold and whipped by that moisture, that ice cold moisture. And then you have the lop-eared dogs, and those ones are dragging either in, that wet muck, or their noses are down, so they're going through all the grass and all those gorgeous leaves that are all over the place in the fall, and they get wet, and then they get dried out. Yep. And in the salt.
Yep. Because many of them, as long as they can get to the beach, they're still going to climb in the water.
Oh yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
the ears and the noses,
Yep.
dry noses, and I know there are lots of balms and stuff that we can use. Do you guys recommend those?
I always make my own. They're so simple. It's such a simple, easy thing to create. A little beeswax, a little coconut oil, and you've got a balm. That simple. Just melt it down, put it together. You can add your own carrier. You can put castor or argan or primrose or whatever you want into it to add to it. But your easy base is I usually use organic beeswax and organic coconut oil, the unfractionated, the solid, not the liquid.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then just melt those down and pour it in a little container and add whatever else you want to. You can add herbs, you can add, all sorts of goodness to it. But it's a super simple thing. Or you can purchase them. There's tons of different ones, as long as they disclose their ingredients and you know what's in it.
Yeah.
Right.
But they work amazing for noses, for ears, for elbows, for pads,
Yeah, sure. And I think that we forget too that our dogs get really cold, like that. They can run around, but walking through slush and stuff, their feet start getting cold. And I remember one particular flyball tournament in Maine, and it was like January, and it was that sub-zero weather where the dogs were walking on 3 feet and sitting down, and their feeties just couldn't handle it. We were like carrying them in. it was very, very sad.
Crazy people. Go home.
I know, right? Well, it was only because it was 4:00 in the morning. We're not crazy.
Oh my God.
I know, right? We're just getting ready for a tournament, crazy early in the morning.
The dogs are like, we'll do it, but why?
Oh no, my dogs love volleyball.
Take them home. 4 in the morning.
They're like, it's fine.
Below zero.
Yeah, right. Hey, everyone's got their own nutty hobby. But I think that owners sometimes forget. They think like, well, what would you do in the wild? It's like, but that's not really.
They'd be in a den.
Yeah, that's not really how it works. They would warm up and
They come out and get something to eat and take it back where it's warm.
like we do. I go out to get food. That's what I want.
Unusual.
But yeah, I think a lot of our owners don't remember that these dogs can get really cold. And then the various coat types, I mean, just thinking about insulation wise, I get cold looking at Dobermans in New England, like that they just don't have that.
Funny Rottweilers, when we used to cart dogs in Indiana, that if it blizzarded, they were all out, belly up, rolling, like, yay, this is what I'm talking about. They're Rottweilers, short, long coats, short with an undercoat, but still, they were made for that weather. They love it. They want some more of it. Didn't hurt their feet at all. I didn't put boots on them. They loved it, but they did have a heated kennel to go in and out of when they needed to. So they have an opportunity to warm up. They just weren't in a dog house and they heated up with their own body temp. But I mean, there are primitives love to be out in the cold weather that they
Oh,
were
yeah.
made for. You know,
Yes.
and they're kind of hot. If it's just 60 degrees, that's hot for them. You know.
Yeah.
I always
Yep.
feel
We have a
bad for the
ton of
Huskies and the Arctic
and
breeds here.
Newfoundlands in the desert, which I still don't understand. I can't wrap my head around it. I wouldn't even move here if I had a cold weather dog like that. I just wouldn't.
Yeah.
You know.
Exactly. I look sometimes at breeds in their climate, and I'm like, you know what? That little short-haired Chihuahua just cannot keep warm enough in New England. You know, I mean,
Right.
all right, we're heating the houses and stuff, but I mean, I just get cold looking at them, and then I also get
Mhm.
really, really hot watching the Samoyeds in Florida. You know, like, good
Yeah.
God, why do you have this breed here? You know,
Mhm.
Yep.
there's only so much that you can do to help them be comfortable. You know, I kind of like my all-weather dogs.
They are a good all-around dog.
You know?
The border collies and the
Yeah,
all
yeah.
the field dogs are real hardy that way, and you could go either way to a hot climate or a cold climate or a multi-climate climate.
Yeah.
You know, they're very versatile. But the
Yeah.
ones that have those specialties in those severe weather climates, whether it be hot or cold, it's really hard to get them to acclimate.
Yeah.
I've seen damage happen in cold weather dogs that come to live in the desert. Over a period of time, some of them literally lose the ability to grow undercoat. And
Interesting.
that's not good either. So
Yeah.
Interesting.
a lot of shepherds I've seen that they got hot and they just won't grow. Their body is like, it's too freaking hot. I can't even grow undercoat.
Hmm.
And they end up
Interesting.
with it because that undercoat on a double coated dog is what helps protect all that stuff. Now the stuff is just
Right.
falling through their guardian. They're completely open to the skin. So I mean, it does happen. I mean, if you take those breeds that need a certain climate and put them in an extreme climate, we see that over a period of time.
Interesting.
Neat.
Interesting. So I have a question for you as far as like winter coats and summer coats, and when exactly does shedding start? I mean, it's kind of always happening, but you know, the seasonal shed.
21st of December and June is when they make a coat switch.
Yep.
So right now, all the dogs are in their summer coat.
Mhm.
In general. I
In-
mean,
in
it's
general.
yes, but
Yeah.
Sure.
So all the dogs now are still having their summer coats, which they've been gently spilling out. But on the 21st of December, that's the true
Unless
beginning of the
you have
winter.
a skipper, throw it up everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Well, if they've
All
been
year round.
neglected, it looks like they're just falling hunks off of them all the time. That's just you need to brush. You need to brush your dog.
Gosh.
But let's say we have a
Yeah.
healthy, well-maintained dog that is double coated. You will start to see thicker and thicker and chunks kind of hanging off the dog. 21st, that's all coming off, and then it starts to grow back in from the front, or it falls out from the back to the front, and then
Back
goes
to the
in to cover that. So they'll be growing a winter coat on the 21st. So that's what they're gearing for. So there's two major sheds in June, December, and all the rest is just maintenance. That's healthy. People say, well, they grow fast, or he sheds so much. I'm like, well, he's healthy and alive. If something didn't shed and stayed shed free, that means that it would probably be taxidermy. And even taxidermy sheds. So I'm just saying.
Yeah.
And it's the same. It's the same for cats. You know,
Mhm.
people that have long hair cats or even short hair cats, they ask about maintaining coat, or some will ask, well, should I just shave him because he just is shedding so much? And you know, would it be better if I shave him? And so I just try and instruct them on clip comb haircuts for the longer cats. You know, let's leave that coat intact as much as possible, and we can shorten the ends a little bit and give them a little trim. On the short hair cat, no, let's just bring them in more often and get a good bath and brush, and or more brushing at home. I can't tell you how many people I have introduced the grooming glove to.
Yeah.
You know, and just start using the glove. You know, they want to be petted anyway. Just start petting them with the glove and help remove the hair. A lot of them that
fingers a little bit.
Yeah. The ones that hate the brush or hate the comb, a lot of them will tolerate the brush. I mean, will tolerate the glove over the brush.
Yeah.
but they shed in those same cycles. And like I know you guys have seen my cat White on my social media. He's a big ragdoll mix, and he's a flame point. So he leaves that white hair everywhere. And right about now is when I will start seeing like the tufts starting, where he
Yeah.
literally starts
Mhm.
self grooming really heavy now and pulling
Mhm.
those tufts out to allow that thicker, heavier coat. And he actually, by the end of the winter here, he'll look almost double his regular size that he becomes in the
Mhm.
summertime, because that
Mhm.
undercoat comes in so much heavier. And then his brother, who is Black, who's much more shy, and his name is Black. So they're my grandcats. I tell my daughter all the time when I inherited them, if she ever does decide to have children, please be a little bit more creative with naming them. But
Kid
But-
1 and kid 2.
yes, exactly. So I have Black and I have White, and Black is a domestic short hair, and he goes through that same thing, except he does not get those big tufts coming off, but he does just start to blow out all those short black hairs. And I literally keep the grooming glove back by where they eat, because they're so spoiled. They, especially Black, he literally caterwauls to be massaged while he's eating his food. So put the glove on and he gets a massage back there while he's eating, and it works twofold. So
So I used to have kitties. I used to have kitties. They have since passed of a very old age. We don't have cats anymore. But one of my cats, I adopted her when she was 9, and she had no experience with being brushed and stuff. She was a short hair. I
Right.
suspect she didn't have a very interesting life. They dropped her off at a shelter because they were going on vacation and didn't want to pay for boarding. So she probably didn't get much of anything.
Aw.
This kitty fell in love with brushing. Whenever somebody tells me my cat it doesn't like being brushed, I'm like, oh, but brushing should feel nice. If the brush was out, she was rubbing it. If I was brushing the dog, she was rubbing the dog, waiting for her chance to be brushed. And I think that for some owners, they see brushing as a chore instead of brushing is this intimate moment where we hang out with our pets.
Yeah.
And you don't have to brush every area of your pet. You can brush parts of them. But I try to encourage my owners to link it to something else. Right? Like, okay, so Saturday mornings, I water my plants, I brush my dogs. You know, I can brush my border collie really pretty quickly. Doesn't take a whole lot most of the time, you know. But even if you just spend 10 or 15 minutes just enjoying a brush out, because they should enjoy it. This is petting. This should feel nice.
How do you guys feel about brushing a dry coat?
If they're
If brush spray.
yeah, I want them to mist it down with something, you know, and brush. But I know for years I didn't know about that, and
Right.
you know, not
And
the end of the world.
I think that's a
you know.
I think that's a carryover from the show world.
Mhm.
In
Yeah.
the show world, you never brush a dry coat. And that's how I was introduced to dogs, was the show, and cats was the show world. And so, and even for us, you know, when we brush our hair, we should be misting it with something,
Yeah.
because it just gives it some elasticity, some bounce. It provides some lacking moisture that it doesn't matter what climate you're in, we all operate in a state of dehydration primarily. So
I feel attacked.
Yeah,
I could stop coffee at any time. I won't, but I could.
So I know that even just environmentally, the things that our bodies and our pets' bodies have to withstand and go through in daily life depletes them of that moisture.
Yeah. I like misting something on and then using a gentle brush.
Yes.
Calm.
Yeah.
I'm not jumping right to the slicker brush anymore, though I used to. Although, if it's helping an owner get their pet more comfortable, I think that we can kind of, owners will pick
Yeah.
the wrong brush if we set them up with the right brush for their individual pet, and that could be a boar bristle brush. It
Right.
could be a
It
slicker
depends on the
brush.
coat.
It could be a
And
pin
half
brush.
of them are so afraid of hurting their dog, they get the least effective brush possible. So
Yeah.
they're just
Yeah.
brushing them out with like a washcloth or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know what they're doing.
A chamois.
This is our brushing spoon.
Pencil.
Brushing pencil. Okay, so actually, this reminds me of the videos I think we've all seen of the person using a whisk to get snowballs out of their doodle's legs. But up here in the Northeast, we are starting to think about snow. I personally like having a brush by my back door. I have a brush by the back door, and if they come in wet, we just quickly brush them off. And a brush can really effectively get those snowballs out. But every time, and I think a lot of our owners don't understand this, but every time there's snowball twisted into hair, and then it dries,
Yep.
it tightens in, and that's where your mats are coming from. And they're all like, oh no, how did it happen? But having a brush next to the back door and making it fun. Okay, come on in out of the snow, brush, 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 brush. Here's a cookie. Off you go.
Yeah.
Hey, and they're already wet. So
Exactly. That's what I was thinking.
You've got
You
the
got the best
moisture.
of both worlds. There's
It's
your moisture
everything.
right there.
Yep.
Yeah.
How do you
We don't have to worry about that snow.
how do you feel about snow in there when they get those big snowballs in between their toes?
Oh,
Yeah.
That's gotta be painful.
I go back and forth about whether I should take the hair out, snowballs don't get in there, or leave it in there because it's protection against the elements.
I take off the outside so that it's even with the pad so they have traction, but I leave all the fluff in
The
there.
stuff
as
in
long as
between
it's
and everything.
clean, as
Okay.
long as I can
Yep.
take my little tiny comb and get in there and make sure there's no mats, that
Yep.
hair stays. And that stays regardless of what climate I'm in. I recommend that for everyone across the world.
Yeah.
That delicate skin in there needs to be protected. How many contact dermatitis issues on feet would we solve by just leaving that little bit of hair in there? It just
Yeah.
bothers me.
Yeah,
I
I only
think that
scoop
we're
it out if I
so-
have a mat that won't come out, or if I'm literally doing poodle feet.
But I think that we're trained, at least I was trained to clean that all out of there.
It was too.
Were you?
And so
really? I
I
wasn't.
still
Huh.
sometimes have a little bit of I do it the same. I do, but I was trained to just get right in there and
Scoop
get
it all out.
hair up. Yeah.
Huh.
And I tell my
I
students,
even leave it on poodle feet. Even if I do clean feet on a poodle, I'll leave that inside there.
Yeah.
Because if the poodle is stepping on its foot, it's just the top that gives you the impression.
Yep.
Since I don't do show dogs, nobody's judging me.
Right.
I do what's comfortable for the pet and easy for the owner and healthy.
Mhm.
So I will give a faux, a clean foot any day of the week. Don't go against the grain. Like there's a lot of things I do differently, but I give the impression that that's what that foot looks like with leaving all the little pieces in there that protect the foot. There's a million different ways of doing it. My way's not the way. It's the way I found that I have less issue with my client's feet.
Yeah.
oh, it's
Well, and I
no.
think that owners will ask for shorter because they assume that will be easier to clean. And when I tell them, I'm like, oh, well, I can take it nice and flush at the bottom and trim it up round and make it look nice and be a tidy short foot without taking all this hair off. It's going to be just as easy to wipe down. It's going to be just as easy to keep clean. And sometimes I have to leave it that way once for them to go, oh, okay. I guess I didn't need it all off.
Yeah.
I think it's funny. We see people that have little fluffy dogs that have a fluffy, floofy coat, and our weather changes, and their coat changes with the weather. It gets even drier, more staticky. And here's mom or dad, and they go, "Oh, Fifi's cold. Let's buy him a whole bunch of winter sweaters." And just start putting sweaters on them and taking them out for walks. And now they're cold in the house. So now Fifi wears a sweater in the house as well. But we take them to the groomer every single month like clockwork. And that sweater is coming off after a month of being on from the last haircut.
Right.
And Fifi is now matted in the sweater, the confines of what the sweater was.
And not only that, these dogs are so hot here. Our winter, unless it's windy, like it's cutting you, the wind can sometimes be very bitter, but otherwise it's just still and cold. These dogs are fine. If they got a healthy coat, healthy skin, they're fine. And they just are like treating them like they're North Pole visiting Santa.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
These dogs just come in, they're like, oh, get this stuff off me. Yeah.
Look at him struggling to keep warm. I'm dying. Oh, he's trying to snuggle into his jacket. He's trying to rip it off.
I am not even joking. They do that with those. They come in with these big puffer coats on and things, and the dog is like,
Like full meal deal, get ready to go whale hunting. Like, just, what are you doing with this poor baby?
We're searching for the northern pass.
And yet, in the summer, we get all the huskies too. So it's like I don't know the disconnect. You know, did you read all of that breed before you got that breed? Like, did you read a book of a story that your breed was in, where they were healthy and happy? Did you read that?
Right. Now I have a question for you, because I just think it's kind of interesting that I've heard the theory that part of what triggers shedding, seasonal shedding, is the amount of daylight. Do our equatorial dogs not shed, or do they shed year round? Where the amount of daylight is kind of always the same.
They do have a distinctive shed.
They do? Okay.
Because the seasons do change, and even the sun will change every 6 months, which is where you get the solstice. So yes, they still go through.
So even at the equator,
lighter than you would imagine, because they're actually actively using that coat, and the muscles are louvering that coat so that it absolutely sheds out better. That's if you take a rustic husky and a primitive husky and you put it in the desert, all kinds of things start to act up. It won't louver properly. It's too oily. The cold, isn't setting the hair in the way that it's supposed to go. Often my mentor from Italy, Monique van de Ven, often said, and I don't know if there's any scientific evidence of this, but I feel like it's true. Okay,
let's go with the feeling. Yeah,
I feel like huskies know instinctively that if they get wet, they're going to freeze to death, because wet and husky in an actual freezing temp environment is very dangerous.
Yep.
You die. You get wet and you can't dry off in time, you die. So it's so ingrained in them, just like a pointer points, that when you start to get them wet, they panic. And I don't know how many people don't kind of realize this. And like I said, there's no study. I don't know how you can even study that. But if we agree collectively in the industry and people who know dogs, if we agree that pointers instinctively point, huskies can absolutely instinctively be afraid of water.
Huskies instinctively scream as soon as you get them wet.
Yeah, it's not because they're stupid. It's because they're super smart for their breed. That's a whole survival thing that they're going through.
Which actually makes me wonder, which actually kind of makes me wonder, so should a husky or a Nordic breed get their first grooming in summer to learn that grooming isn't going to freeze them to death? It's kind of an interesting premise. If we start on that first part, maybe we should be encouraging first grooms in summer when it's hot and they might go into water.
Question, though, as a trainer and a behaviorist, can you teach a pointer not to point? And
I don't know. But if it's something that we find we have to do for them, is that the way to make it most pleasant? Is that
that opens up a whole new topic, Chrissy. I would be interested.
I know, right?
That's for sure.
If you're going to ask them to forego an instinctual deep in their snake brain, their limbic system, if you're going to ask them to forego something that's deeply embedded, would you or should you do that and transpose
But
it onto somebody
it
that's
deeply embedded?
with an instinct.
But is it deeply embedded as instinct entirely, or is it deeply embedded as winter instinct?
Mhm. Well, that would be
I
a
think
challenge for
it's-
you.
Right?
as
It's
a
kind of
behavior
interesting, isn't it?
trainer
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
maybe make that distinction.
Right?
You know what I mean?
Like,
I
you
don't
know?
have enough of those clients, and obviously we don't have enough change of a season to
Yeah.
test our theory. But that would be very
Mm.
interesting. And
Right?
you know what?
Because during the
Yeah.
summer, maybe they do like not worry about walking through a brook.
We
Whereas in winter, they might be like, stay away from water.
We might contact breed clubs and
Yeah.
send them a packet like
Oh, yeah,
design
there
a
you
study.
go.
Am I wrong here? We can design a study and send it to all the breed clubs of America of an Arctic
The
breed.
Nordic
And
breed.
say,
Yeah.
hey, when you have your puppies,
Yeah.
introduce them to bathing in winter and then film it and do whatever we can make up a study.
Right.
That would be really interesting.
I think it's interesting. Yeah, because I love
Yeah.
the premise that it's instinctual for them. But is it instinctual year round? I don't know.
That's a good thought.
And-
That's-
And you know, can you teach a pointer to not point? I'm not sure, but I can teach a border collie to not chase.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
You might have to rein it in and give him something else to chase in half an hour, but
Oh, no, I can
get it out of your system, other places.
You don't want them to chase, but they still chase. That's what
Their brain is like, I want to chase it.
that's what- they
Yeah,
still going to chase under the right parameters. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly,
But to
exactly.
take that completely away from them, I don't know. That's a really ethical question and
I don't
a
know.
behaviorist question, I would
Well,
say.
and now I'm wondering, so any listeners out there, if you have huskies who are not good for the bath that you've always done, can you look up when their first bath happened? Was it
And if
winter?
you have huskies,
And if you have huskies who are awesome for bathing, was it summer? I'm curious.
because there are some, absolutely.
Yeah, I've known a bunch of huskies who were lovely for grooming. Yeah,
Yeah.
But
I
what
wonder
you-
if I'm
Yeah.
so intrigued. I can ask questions like these all day. So
But it's an interesting hypothesis. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that it's appropriate though.
Mhm.
Whenever you have a breed like that, and they're like, oh, all huskies are like that. All huskies scream during the bath. Well, rather than saying accepting that, at least have a little bit of compassion around it. Let's find out why.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
why do all these
Exactly.
pointers when I haven't been trained at all? Why do they run out into the field and then they go like this when they see a bird? Why do they do that?
Right.
And why would you want to take them out of it, or is there a workaround? You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yep.
Yep.
If we're calling something instinctual and that we want to get rid of, is that
Mhm.
something that we need to genetically breed out? And if so, if we genetically breed out the instinctual fear of water from a husky, those huskies can never go to cold weather places. Like it's a lot.
it's a lot. It is. It is.
It's a lot.
Well, but if you start thinking about ethically, if it's something that they do need, or is it something that maybe they don't need in winter? I mean, I'm all for grooming dogs year round, but if your huskies actually are terrified of water in winter, is it
Right.
ethical for us to groom them in winter? Should we say,
We
you know
could
what, you're
certainly-
this breed, we're going to be brushing and we're going to be oiling and we're going to be adding conditioners. And I mean, I know my border collies can go a long time without a bath. They're pretty much, brush
watching
outs
them.
and yeah. But it is an ethical question then, because we don't want to terrify them. And,
Mhm.
fears can be interesting because they can be part of that genetic code. They can be part of that instinct set. Are you afraid of snakes or not? Do you want to kill all the snakes or not? And, pointers point, herders herd, so
Jacks kill rats like it happens. That's
Oh,
how
yeah.
they are.
yeah. Terriers are going to find the chipmunk in your woodpile.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anybody who thinks
And
your
terriers
terrier lacks focus, watch them watching a chipmunk in a woodpile. They have plenty
Right.
of focus.
Does anybody remember that video of the greyhound, the sighthound races? And they were just racing them after a lure on the field, and a real rabbit went across their path,
Oh yes.
and they went into like fifth gear from just, okay, yeah, we're running, whatever. You really saw what they could do. They were like, oh, that's what I'm talking about, and off they went.
Yeah.
Everyone was like,
Yes.
that was amazing. I watched that like
It was.
20 times. That's their
I know.
instinct, you know. And
Yep.
and having seen that, you can tell how bored they are of that lure. Like they'll do it because they can run and it's fun. But the real game is afoot when that real rabbit went, and they turned into magnificent creatures that just 5 more gears on those
Yeah,
legs.
yeah.
It was amazing.
Well, and it was another example of like fences are an idea. They aren't necessarily going to keep them in like wee.
Right. Yeah.
You know, yeah. They're amazing athletes. You know, they're pretty cool. And we chose dogs for jobs, and we should be thinking about what they were bred for. I think that they are amazing creatures, but we got to think about what they're bred for. You know. Can I just say one of my proudest moments, and I didn't get it on film. I looked away and I looked over and I watched my 2 border collies step off the trail to let 2 bicycles go by out in the woods. And I'm like,
Wow.
how did I not get that on film? And the bike riders are like, wow. Because we worked on that for so long. Like, bikes off trail, you know, bikes off trail. And they're looking at me like, did the thing, can we chase yet? Like, yeah, let's throw some sticks. You know,
Are they
give me
trying to
something
chase the
chase.
bicyclist?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, that's the instinct is like, can I chase these things that are going by? But they just like on their own, like, oh, bikes off trail and let the bikes go by. I'm like, oh, holy grail. Wow. Did not get it on film. You'll just have to take my word for it. Percy's full of it.
They love you so much.
But, you know, then you have to give them some other outlet. You know, if we're asking a dog to hold back from their instincts for a minute, we got to give them another outlet, you know. Dogs that want to dig, give them a place they can dig. And, you know, don't ask them to never dig again. That's not fair, you know?
Right.
Oh, I'm so intrigued by the husky thing now.
I know, really. And, you know, it kind of makes you rethink how we serve those in a cold climate. Because if they don't smell and there's nothing wrong with the skin, they just need to be oiled and combed or brushed or whatever. Their feet maintained. If they need a foot soak for whatever reason because it's cold, oil them up, soak them, oil them up, clean them, you know, make sure their ears are good, make sure their boo-boo area is nice and boo-boo free. All the things, you know, and then not get them wet. What for? You know, they could easily be express wash and wears kind of thing because they don't require getting wet all the way to the skin. They don't oil like that, you know, especially when it's cold. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you look at what they're, just like you're saying, instinctually, they're predisposed to behaviors. Instinctually, genetically, those coats are predisposed to reacting to different climates. So like you were saying, the German Shepherd decided that, you know what, it's too damn hot here. I'm not going to grow this super thick undercoat in the desert. And so his body just made that decision and was like,
skin will do that.
Right. And so, you know, we see you guys in you know, in New Hampshire and in the northern states, you guys see things that maybe coats that wouldn't be as thick, like that little Chihuahua that's trying to keep up with that cold weather. Over time, they may grow thicker, heavier undercoats because they have to compensate for that weather, even though they're a breed that originated in Mexico in the Sonoran Desert, where pretty much Michelle and I are right next door to. We understand what that climate is like. So that dog, and take that dog from that climate and put that dog into a different climate. Eventually, most of them, if they're a healthy dog, their breed, what's the word I'm looking for? Their genetics are predisposed to doing things, but to create a homeostasis for their skin and their coat are going to react to what their environment is in over time.
The healthier the skin and the body of the dog is, the more adaptable they are. So the more they can, the more they can change a coat. If the short-haired dogs with very little undercoat are stressed in cold situations, there are papers that will tell you that they will grow undercoat. Usually the primary hair isn't affected, but undercoat grows so fast that they can grow a lot of it for that condition for insulation. It's the guard hairs that grow the slowest.
Mhm.
And then you have the ones that are just eyelashes without a hint of undercoat hardly. They probably don't belong anywhere near cold, and they should have sweaters. If they go into cold. All the hairless, they should never go outside. They should always stay inside, no matter what.
But we do, as humans, do very strange things to other species. So the grace of the other species adapts to our strangeness, of the things that we require of them. And so, what did you say?
I said most of the time, when they don't adapt, they're just sick.
Well, but that's the thing is that I was going to say, and if they can't adapt, then we start to see the dis-ease. It becomes a disease because the body cannot adapt, because it's not given the things that it needs to adapt. So, I mean, we're talking about winterizing and winter coats and that kind of stuff. So we do see a lot of dogs that come in that have skin issues and coat issues that maybe are exacerbated because of the cold weather, because they're not really either supported holistically, like the entire body is not taken into into accordance, so nutritionally and just all of that. We have to look at that. At least I'm a huge proponent of looking at the entire, like, it's if there's something going on with skin and coat, there's usually something going on systemically with that animal.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think
so when we
sometimes
see
it
that
start at the skin and go into the body because the barrier no longer works.
Right, exactly.
Right. People are saying, well, all skin issues start in the gut. And I think it's more symbiotic than that. I think that the barrier breaks down, things are allowed in, and the body becomes diseased. I also think that something is ingested, the body becomes diseased as a symptom. So I don't think it's one or the other. I think it's the spectrum of what's happening. If you're looking holistically at a whole body, an organism, it's never just one thing, just like allergies. If you have a nut allergy, even if you're human, you could be allergic to that one nut, but there's a whole host of things that happened before you were aware that you were allergic to that nut that your body did not tolerate, but tolerated until that one thing happened, and now your body recognizes that as just evil and explodes and doesn't let you breathe. So just in that same organism, all systems are affected. You can't have an infected haunch of skin and then have it not affect the rest of the skin. You can't have a bad tooth and not have that poison go throughout the bloodstream. So you have to look at it as a whole. It can't be just, in the groups you see a lot. Oh, well, you need to improve the gut biome. I'm like, but are you using conditioner at the same time? And they're like, no, we never heard of conditioner.
Right.
So I mean, I'm like, come on, at least give it a fighting chance.
Yeah. Some of our dogs, as they get older, are going to have some more specific needs in winter. And, lots of systems might be failing, and coat changes might be really difficult for them. I know a lot of our older dogs are wearing sweaters, and but I wish that more owners were aware of that. That, like, he just needs a little bit more help being warm. It's cold, he can't do what he used to do. He's older now. He's your 90-year-old grandpa,
You're gonna make me go out and shovel the wall.
Yeah, right. We're gonna go march to the store, like forced march through the snow. He loves it.
The skin and the fur control thermoregulation. So when they start to become a senior, their coats usually will get thinner. The skin gets thinner.
Yep.
And just like everything else, as the freezing old lady here in the desert, I am. Just like me, things just don't work like they used to when you were a young fry pup, So, you get colder easier. Your ability to thermoregulate just doesn't work like it used to. So we need
Right.
to take all those things into consideration, because people are like, I don't know, my dog was shivering, and when we go on our walks and he just hates to go out there. Well, even in our weather, it's still cold in the 30s, in the mornings.
Mhm.
And here's your old dog, and he's got arthritis, and he's older. His coat is nowhere what it used to be in his heyday of glory,
Right.
And
Yeah.
of course, he's got arthritis, and he's got other things that are happening that, even if he's not, walking on the edge of Rainbow Bridge, he still has things that are happening to him that are making sure that he knows that he's not a puppy anymore.
Mhm.
And a lot of times the owners don't want to see that, and they don't
I
understand
think
that.
that's an important point, Melissa, to bring up. That's how important oil is in your administration of these dogs. Oil is life.
Yeah.
It is known in the Arctic regions, the people that are indigenous to that area will put oil on their exposed skin to keep it from being chapped
Yeah.
and windburned, and it also helps retain heat. Oil that's spread
Yes.
on you retains the heat. So for those old dogs, there's two things that you can do. They lose their B vitamin complex, the ability to make and or store B vitamins, and that's where their smell comes from. They get an old person smell because they're depleted in B vitamins. So you can add it into their food with directions from your vet or your nutritionist, or you can absolutely put it into a conditioner or an oil, mix it up. Primrose oil is perfect for old dogs. They love that. Argan oil would be really good for old dogs. Put the B vitamin complex. You can use a crushed up tablet, but I prefer a liquid because it's just more bioavailable. It mixes better. And then oil them with that daily on their sebaceous zones, the feet, the stomach, the armpits, the groin, the neck, ears. All those can be oiled, and then rub the rest all over the coat and polish them up. That will help keep them warm in a cold climate, just by virtue of being oil spread on their body. So.
Yeah, oils are neat. I remember reading something about a tribe in South America, way down toward the Antarctica, like farthest south, that would oil themselves and as their primary way to keep warm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, bear fat, bear grease, pioneers did it. All the Western, pioneers going to the West and populating them through the mountains and everything. It's a known thing. And what's interesting is if you're talking to a vet or an owner, they know those facts, but their brain has never tied it into, okay, my dog needs oil. However, for the last 10 years, I've only used shampoo. So, I don't know why his skin's so red. Oil is important. I can't stress it enough.
Yep.
I can't stress it enough. Conditioner and oil.
Yep. And oil in their food.
Mhm.
Yep.
I mean, we need to intake oil also.
Yeah, if they're only
Talk
eating
to your vet, of course, but some of the foods
they're going to need something more, especially when their immune system is stressed, like cold weather, trying to keep heat. Like if you're exercising them or hiking them, they're going to need a little bit of extra something.
Absolutely. So, all right, so we covered a lot of stuff for winter, and we have a new theory out there that we're going to be testing. Telling me about your huskies.
Yeah.
But that's an interesting point, and I love dilemmas like that because then it opens up the conversation with so many other things. Because we're going to come up with other conversations that have nothing to do with this, but they're just as valid for exploration. And I think that's what any good searching mind who wants to learn more and sharpen their skills, you have to be open to those weird questions. Let's turn it over. Let's look at it.
What happened?
Was it stupid? I mean, we could rule at the very end after we study it and say, you know what, this was really stupid, but at least we know.
So, okay, full disclosure, I occasionally will take a logic chain down into Crazy Town just to see how far I'll get people to follow.
I will not do that. I genuinely will not.
I don't do it to students or anything, but it's pretty fun at dinner once in a while.
Right there, if I ever heard one. No, she doesn't do it to students.
I don't do it to students, but it's pretty fun at dinner once in a while. You take this logic pain, and like sometimes I don't know when the left turn happened, and you know.
Sometimes it just happens, and then you turn around and you're like, oh, we took the left turn together.
Oh, we did. Well, if that's true, then this must be true. Okay. Well, it was a pleasure talking to you guys. That was the 1 hour mark. I would love to hear what updates you guys have. Any classes, any students, anything interesting happening at the school?
Oh my gosh, I have so much. Okay.
Yeah,
I'll just
excellent.
talk about one thing. Okay. Let's just talk about one thing.
Okay.
We just launched PetSalonRescueTV.com. This
You
is
did?
like Tabitha's salon takeover, except without me. It's
Yay!
nice and informative, and we boost you, and we love you, and we teach you what you need to know. So if
Yay.
you want to be a coach on our traveling teams for each state, or if you are interested in having our experts come to you, and it will be filmed, and it will go on Pet Salon Rescue TV.com. It will be a film. We will film you just like a show. And we will send three representatives to do your top 3 issues. So we'll sit down, we'll check out your normal thing, and then you tell us, okay, I'm having trouble with this, and this. We'll have an expert there to help you with those topics. And it's going to be
That sounds
fantastic.
fun.
Send in your applications, PetSalonRescue.com. PetSalonRescue.com. PetSalonRescue.com.
PetSalonRescue.com.
Nice.
You heard it here.
That's the one.
PetSalonRescue.com. Coming up with a jingle.
There you go.
I'm sure Mary will have music to it here shortly.
PetSalonRescue.com. All right. Anybody else got anything new happening?
I have just a few more sessions, and my massage students will be finishing out. They have to take their final, and they'll be finishing out level 200 of the canine massage course.
Woo!
And
Yay.
sorry, White is over here for his nightly attention. Apparently,
I'm enjoying
so
watching.
those ladies will be taking their final, and they'll be moving forward with their masters. So I'm super
Woo-hoo.
excited. They will be my first
That's
2
awesome.
that will complete their masters.
Awesome.
Yay.
Very good.
That's
So
great.
I have them. I do have a new student also that will be starting the feline master. We will
Yay.
probably be starting that sometime in December. We haven't set our date yet, but
Oh. Hear that,
one's-
people? So if you want to join in on that, another one will be starting.
Yep, absolutely. So I'm excited for that. And I'm still open for students for the aromatherapy. I have the aromatherapy program as well. And if you're interested in just a smattering of the 3, the canine, the aromatherapy, and the canine massage, the aromatherapy, and the feline, along with a whole bunch of other smattering courses. Take the Master Holistic Arts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
broad diploma.
Right, that's a broad.
A juicy
Yeah.
piece of every topic in there. And you
Yeah.
get a really good broad foundation of an education. And then if you want
So-
to specialize or you're interested, that you can absolutely focus on one or more of those topics. I think it's
Yeah.
a great way to introduce yourself to holistic arts and what can
Yes.
be done holistically.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
I think that's the most awesome of all of it, is that you can really take that and just get enough of that basis to really build all the way up to the masters.
Yeah, each
Right.
piece of that diploma program, I have to say, is juicy. Like you're not
Oh, yeah.
you're not getting just like a little piece that leaves you hungry. Like each piece is usable with techniques and tips and knowledge. That's
Oh,
just
yeah.
a little nice.
Yeah. And then if you decide you want to continue on that trail, you've started it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a neat program.
And I have to tell you, if you've taken the pieces and gotten your holistic of arts, holistic arts, you can absolutely use some of those classes in other diplomas. So it's
Yeah.
like you go to college and you take classes that aren't really related, but then those classes count toward this degree or that degree or that degree. So
Yeah.
it's not a waste of time at all or knowledge because it sets you on the path.
Absolutely.
Or-
I know my first two behavior classes are part of the Master of Holistic Arts. And if you wanted to move on, you can take the second two,
Right.
and with many of these programs, it's a really neat program. It's the one I'm going for right now. In my free time. So I had 3 new Master Groomer Behavior Specialists graduate.
I saw that.
Yeah.
So Kim here, Vivian
Congratulations.
Thornton, and Amy Ganos. Congratulations, you guys. They did awesome. They did so awesome. And it is so nice to have just a few more people out there and out there with this new degree. Very exciting.
I
Very
just
excited for them.
graduated Naomi Conroy for her master pet esthetician, and she's in
Congratulations,
Australia.
Naomi.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Naomi. And I love this because for me, it comes full circle for me. She has become a brand new distributor of Yves Saint Bernard in
Oh,
Australia. So I remember, like, it's
nice.
just like that's where I started, and I love that. I love that. She's just so she's one of those special ones. I'm telling you, she's going to go so far, and she's already credentialed. She's already somebody. You know what I mean? But man,
Everybody's
she's-
somebody. Yes.
yeah, but she's just taking it like
Nice.
she's pushing that envelope all the way down. She's a distributor. She's like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing, but you know what? We're gonna do it.
Awesome. Awesome.
I'm like, you do know what you're doing. You're gonna be just fine.
Yep, I do find that the students are real go-getters. I think the school
Yeah.
really draws this really high caliber of students.
Yeah.
It's people who are really into it. Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Learn stuff. Anything else we want to cover? Been about an hour? No?
We're good.
All right. Pleasure again, as always. And we missed Sarah tonight, but she was traveling. So I believe she will be
She's
back
having
next
a
week.
good.
What was that?
I said she's having a good time.
Good.
Good.
All right. Well, let me put our little outro clip. You ready? All right. Bye.
Bye.